So the talk is about the quantum accelerator part of the Diana Center for Quantum Technologies. And maybe before talking about the quantum accelerator and the Center for Quantum Technologies, I should talk a little bit about Diana first to provide the context. So first of all, Diana is an acronym, as you've all figured out, I'm sure, and it stands for Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic. And this is an acronym that has been established by NATO because the objective in NATO's 2030 strategy, the objective that they had is to basically sharpen the alliance's technological edge to ensure transatlantic security. And the way that they felt the focus for doing that was basically to focus on 9 emerging and disruptive technologies, EDTs as they call them, one of which is quantum technologies. And the reason why they focused on these particular technologies is what they wanted to do was they wanted to basically draw upon all the innovation that is happening within each of these areas through all the various startups that are working in the civilian sector. So they're constantly being exposed to all kinds of new technology improvements, new requests for new applications, new features. So it's that continuous process of innovation that they are working with on a daily basis. This is what Diana is trying to tap into. And it's very, very important to emphasize that the objective here is to build up an ecosystem for each of these areas, an ecosystem that is a continual source of innovation that can be applied for defense and security applications. And the way that this is going to be implemented is basically through this network of accelerators, the Diana Innovation Accelerator Network, where basically there are accelerators and test centers, I'll get back to that a little bit later, that will be leveraging this civilian sector innovation within dual-use technologies. But in addition to this, and this goes back to the previous speaker's comment regarding the ecosystem, it's not just enough with the accelerators. You also need funding for this as well, among other things. And as part of this initiative, this NATO Innovation Fund will be established. This is a multi-sovereign fund. I think there are 22 countries that are contributing to this. Initially, it's 1 billion euros, but obviously there will be later stage funds or new funds that will be spawned over time. But initially, they will be starting with 1 billion euros for investing in these startups that go through these accelerator programs. The next chart is just to give you an eye chart, as it were, as to way that the structure for the accelerators. The green dots, very quickly, they are the 11 accelerator sites that have been approved as of now. We expect that there will be more over time. You can see also there's some blue dots here, and I'm going to go to the next slide here to show that these are the test centers. At this point in time, I think there are 91 test centers included and counting. We expect that there will be a number joining from the US and Canada, possibly later on this year, but certainly during the course of 2024. And as you can see, all of these different sites and accelerators are focusing on one or more of these emerging and disruptive technologies. So how does it work? And here I'm going to talk a little bit about the whole program and the whole process of involving all these innovative startups and spin-outs that are working with these technologies. So access to the accelerator programs in itself will be through these challenge-based calls. So there will be calls that will be sent out here by Diana organization later on this year, where they will basically, similar to the way it's done with DARPA, they will list a number of challenges with sub-challenges, and then they will use this as a way of selecting which companies are accepted to the program. And what they have identified, at least initially, are three strategic directions that will frame the first call. And these 3 directions are energy resilience, secure information sharing, and then sensing and surveillance. And for people here, and I just want to point out that these challenges will be technology agnostic. But I'm sure for everybody here in the room, you can clearly see that secure information sharing and sensing and surveillance are probably the 2 of the 3 strategic directions where there are solutions within the context of quantum technologies that could be applied to these areas. Another point that's important to keep in mind here is that the 5 accelerators that will host the first cohort, because initially the plan or the program won't start with all 11 accelerators and all 91 test sites, but only a subset of that. Diana, NATO have announced the 5 that will be part of the initial operational capability. And in Europe, it'll be Technopol in Tallinn, it will be Officina Gran Riparazioni in Turin, and then the last one will be the Bio-Innovation Institute in Copenhagen. In the US, Mass Challenge in Boston has been selected, and also Pacific Northwest Mission Acceleration Center in Seattle. So this is the group of accelerators that would be part of the first program. And I'd just like to emphasize that some of these accelerators cover a number of technologies. Some of them actually only cover one of the 9, and that is the case for the Bio-Innovation Institute, where the quantum accelerator will be. And that is also the case where we focus exclusively on quantum technologies as the only accelerator in this group. And then the Officina Gran Riparazioni, they're focusing on aerospace. So this is what we're looking into in the course of this year. So what does Diana offer? I talked a lot about what I will talk a little bit later about what the accelerators will offer in terms of the civilian piece. But as far as Diana is concerned, the Diana organization, they're focusing on the security, defense and security piece. So what they will offer is they will have grants to help cover costs during the accelerator program. These grants will be dedicated to basically developing a better understanding of the capabilities of the technologies for defense and security applications. Relatively small amounts of money at this point in time. For the first 6-month phase, 50,000 for the first 6 months, 150 for the second 6 months, where there will be a down selection. There will be mentoring from scientists, engineers, industry experts, government procurement experts, again with the focus on the defense and security aspect. And again, this is Diana that is providing this. There will be community of investors, again going back to the importance of investors in this, and this will be anchored by the NATO Innovation Fund. So they will be actively looking at opportunities that come out of the program, but it is very important to emphasize that the whole idea is that the NATO Innovation Fund will syndicate with for-profit VCs, strategic VCs, VCs in general who are interested in good cases. And so that's why it's very, very important. It's in many ways, it's similar to the way In-Q-Tel works in the US. For every dollar In-Q-Tel invests themselves, I think they have like 17 to 18 times that amount in syndicated investments as well. It's the same type of thinking that's going to be applied here. And this is crucially important if we're going to develop this robust ecosystem. We need syndication from for-profit and corporate and strategic investors. There will also be opportunities to field technology as well in operational environments through Diana. And then there will also be established an industrial partnership network as well, which is also crucial in order to get introduced these technologies that these companies have into use cases. And then finally, and this is also incredibly important as well, pathways to market. Because right now the whole procurement process is not particularly well suited for small startups. That needs to change, and this is one of the key components of this Diana initiative as well, rapid procurement process. So this is what Diana offers in terms of defense and security. So very, very briefly, what is the timeline? First call will be in advance of the NATO summit here in Vilnius in July. The expectation is it'll be sometime around June. In the second, next gate will be the notification to the successful applicants and innovators within 3 months, so sometime in Q3. Again, the exact dates have not been made public yet, and I don't want to steal Diana's thunder. And then the accelerator programs themselves, for all the accelerators, will start at the same time before the end of the year. So as you can see, there is a lot happening now, and you will hear a lot more once we get to June. That's when Diana will start actively making the call and promoting the program. So that has kind of given you a little bit of the context, and I thought that was important to kind of, before diving into and talking about the Center for Quantum Technology. So the actual Center for Quantum Technologies is going to be established at the Niels Bohr Institute at the University of Copenhagen. And the 2 components which were shown in the maps I showed you before is the quantum accelerator in brackets, hosted at BII. I'll explain a little bit later what BII is. And then there are 4 test sites. These are the blue dots located in Denmark. I'm going to focus on the quantum accelerator piece for the bulk of the rest of my talk here. So basically, this quantum accelerator, and the reason why I have an asterisk is because that is our working name. We're in the process of incorporating a separate sister company to the Bioinnovation Institute, which will house this quantum accelerator. And it will actually physically be located at and a sister organization to the Bioinnovation Institute. The Bioinnovation Institute, and maybe this goes back to the reason why Novo Nordisk Foundation is on my business card. It's because the Bioinnovation Institute was set up by the Novo Nordisk Foundation about 5 years ago. So it is fully owned and supported by the Novo Nordisk Foundation. And the objective with setting this up was basically to set up a program that could incubate and accelerate startups and spin-outs from the universities in Denmark, but also Nordics, Northern Europe, anywhere, basically within life science. And they're focusing primarily on pharma, bioindustrials, and medtech, and they have a suite of programs going from the very, very early stage, which is before incorporation by a studio, but also Venture Lab and Creation House. At this point in time, I think they have their companies, the 80 companies have gone through. They've raised collectively of the order of almost €500 million in public-private sector funding. So this is the program that we are building the quantum accelerator on top of. We're taking a lot of their processes, their way of thinking, their way of working with the teams, developing cases, developing technology for quantum. And the key reason why Denmark's proposal is built upon Bioinnovation Institute is because for pharma, everybody I'm sure is well aware that pharma, we heard it this morning at the keynote, pharma costs a lot of money, takes a long time, very risky. It's the same thing for quantum. Also, costs a lot of money, takes a long time, very risky. Maybe even more so compared to pharma in some instances. And that is basically the paradigm, and it's that mindset that we are building upon. And that is why the Diana program will be housed in that same facility. We're in the process of repurposing one of the wings on one of the floors for the accelerator. We have around 500-600 square meters for this purpose. And we're in the process of going through the existing programs and then tailoring them for quantum tech startups. But the bonus info here, I think, which is maybe also important for many people here in this room, this is just the first step on a path to a much, much broader quantum accelerator for quantum and quantum enabling technologies. The very first program that we will run will be the Diana program, but at the same time, we're in the process of laying the foundation, as it were, for a suite of programs for quantum tech and quantum tech enabling companies, much along the same lines of the programs that Bioinnovation Institute have. So, as I said, we're in the process of incorporating and getting our website up. We can't put our website up before we've incorporated, but that should hopefully happen within the next couple of weeks or so. But I would encourage you to get a bit of a flavor for the kind of things that the Bioinnovation Institute does for their deep tech startups. I would encourage you to go to BII's homepage so you can get a little bit more information there. So just very quickly about the accelerator. I've talked a little bit about it before, but we'll have a tailored accelerator program for Diana. We already in this program, we focus on business, technology, and team development. And I'd just like to kind of talk a little bit more about this with team development. I mean, within life science, you have many interdisciplinary teams working together on developing drugs and bioindustrials. Within quantum, it is exactly the same. You have like physicists, your engineers, computer scientists, and that's just kind of like the bare minimum in terms of the technical and the scientific team. But the difference here is that while in life science, many of these roles are well known, people know exactly, where the interfaces are to, say, regulatory. People know where the interface is to the small molecule experts, to the formulation experts, etc., etc. That is not the case within quantum tech startups. So there is a ripe opportunity for all kinds of conflicts to occur in these teams that are working on extremely complex technology, kind of not well-developed businesses or applications or markets, not to the same extent as in life science. So this is one of the things that we will be spending and focusing a lot on in our accelerator programs and how we develop these teams, because many of the biggest single reason to why companies don't make it, or like tech companies, it's not the technology. It's basically because the teams themselves run into difficulties in their working together so that they can't address the market problems and the technology problems in an effective manner. So this is something that we think is important to focus upon. And again, the ecosystem needs to be strong. You need to have these strong, viable companies to have this basis for being able to address the defense and security sector needs. And again, of course, all these couplings that you saw from Diana, we will have the same thing, but maybe more focused on the civilian sector, tight couplings to VC and scientific communities, as well as the nascent quantum industry in general, worldwide. Just test centers very quickly in the context of Diana. I realize I'm running a little bit over here. Test and fabrication facilities, that's extremely important in quantum. That is not just test, measurement, characterization, but also fab facilities. 3 of the 4 test centers in Denmark are within 20 kilometers. One of them is literally 200 meters from where the accelerator will be. So this will facilitate short turnaround times, short cycles. Includes NanoLab, the National Center for Nanofabrication, and DFM, Denmark's National Metrology Institute. But I'd like to emphasize here that this is an alliance-wide initiative. So while there may be advantages in using some of the more locally, geographically close by test and measurement centers, the idea, of course, is to collaborate with those that maybe have better facilities for doing maybe some more detailed measurements or more precise measurements that we don't actually have within close geographical proximity in Denmark. So very, very quickly, summary objective of Diana is to sharpen the edge by leveraging these 9 emerging and disruptive technologies, one of which is quantum. The means by which this will be achieved will be through this network of accelerators and test centers, as I said, and this innovation fund, NATO Innovation Fund for dual-use technology startups. And the accelerator for quantum technologies will be located at this Bio-Innovation Institute, I said, and will leverage and build upon BII's successful life science programs, also within deep tech. And just to kind of conclude with maybe some of the more pertinent information regarding the timing. So first call will be Q2, selection Q3, and then starting in Q4. Great, and with that, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Any question?
One very practical question: is there any website to find all this information? Or
Diana has a website already up and running. Our website will go live within the next 2 weeks or so.
Coming.
Yeah,
okay.
We're in the process of formalizing taking care of all the terms and conditions in our agreements.
Very interesting. Thank you.
So.
Okay, thank you.
So if I could just finish, again, there are two components to this. There's Diana, so if any of you are thinking in terms of startups that could be relevant, please reach out to me. The other thing is, again, kind of the later stage where we're looking at a much broader quantum accelerator. I'd be also very happy to hear from any of you who would be interested in hearing a little bit more about that as well. That's something we're in the process of building up, so your input there would be appreciated. Thank you.